Ugh, networking. Love it or hate it, it is part of your job as an actor. Let's face it, this business is about who you know and who knows you. So knowing how to network more effectively can definitely be a game changer for your career. I'm so excited for today's video because I'm bringing in casting director Faith Hibbs Clark, and she's going to talk to you about her area of expertise, body language. We're covering a lot today, why networking is important for actors, and we'll talk about how your body language affects your networking. Plus, you are going to want to stick around till the end because Faith is generously gifting you all a networking book for actors, but you gotta stick around to the end to get it. Now, while my intro plays, hop into the comments below and let me know the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word networking. Hi, Faith. It's so good to see you. Thank you so much for being here and helping my community.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Well, today we're going to talk about a dreaded topic for so many actors, networking. And I'm so happy you're here to get them unstuck. So let's just start from the beginning. Why is networking important for actors?
Networking is just as important as what you do on camera when you're auditioning. You know, I think that a lot of actors spend a lot of time training for their auditions, which of course they should, but they also have to remember that a lot of those opportunities come about either directly or indirectly from the networking that they do. And that networking also has to be as wonderful as their craft and their audition skills.
I love that. I mean, and networking is so important for actors. I always say your network is your net worth. And, you know, knowing how to be an effective networker can really change an actor's career. And I know you know this more than anyone. So what do actors need to know about networking?
Well, first of all, they have to know the absolute importance of it, and that networking is as important as marketing, which you're the queen of marketing. So I think a big thing that a lot of actors don't realize, and a lot of people don't realize when they're communicating, is that 95% of what we communicate to other people is actually perceived at the subconscious level. So that means a lot of our body language is actually telling a story to the other person, and that other person is absorbing that story and processing the meaning of that story, but all at a subconscious level. Now, if that's terrifying to you, well, it should be, because so often we are misunderstood, both in our careers and our interpersonal lives. And so being aware of that is sort of step number one at making it work for you and not against you.
I love that. And can you tell my community, my viewers, what's your background before you were a casting director?
Well, it's kind of crazy. I certainly didn't get into casting in the traditional sense. So I've been casting for film and television for over 20 years. But before I was a casting director, I worked as a communications expert. I specialized in something called deception detection, which explains why I'm single. But seriously, it's the ability to read someone's body language and be able to tell whether or not that person is likely to be lying or not. And then I came into the casting world, and it was really a handy skill for me to have, because if you think about it, everything that an actor does in front of the camera is actually a lie. My educational background is in behavioral psychology with an emphasis in neuroscience and communication. So what I realized very quickly in the casting world is that this particular type of lie that actors tell in front of the camera is what I call the entertainment lie. And it's the only type of lie that actually allows the person that you're talking to consent to that lie. In other words, we want to be lied to because we want to be entertained. And that's what I call the entertainment lie. So deception detection can be reverse engineered, allowing the actor to code and program their performances and their networking interactions to be able to get the end result that they want. Now, taking that back to networking, the end result, obviously, that people are going to want when they're out there and they're networking and trying to make connections in the industry is you're going to want to be liked. And there are certain things that you can do when you're talking to someone, when you're interacting with someone, and things that you cannot do when you're talking to someone and interacting with someone that helps you to get the results that you're looking for.
So there's a lot of myth information, as I call it, out there about so many topics for actors, but I think for networking as well. What common myths do you hear about and do you know about networking?
Yeah, there's a lot of myths. I would break those myths down into 3 general categories. One, and probably the biggest myth, is that networking is not that important. Networking is so important. You could be very, very talented and do really well in auditions, but you need to be able to network, whether that's just getting an agent that helps to get you through the door or building a relationship with casting directors and directors. But all of those people require that nurturing and that networking. So I would say that the biggest myth is that people think, oh, well, if you're talented, it doesn't matter. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You've got an agent, you got a manager, it doesn't matter. It does matter. So knowing that is the first and most important thing. The second myth is that you can influence your networking at a conscious level. Most of what you're doing, and we kind of touched on this before, but most of what you're doing when you network is perceived at a subconscious level. What they like or what they don't like about you is often perceived entirely subconsciously. They don't realize what it is about your communication that makes them feel a little uneasy or a little uncomfortable. They just sense it. And that's true of all interactions. So that's another really big myth area that actors have to be aware of, is that they may have the best of intentions in their interaction with someone, but they may be coming across in a way that is less than desirable. So in other words, they may come across as thinking, oh, I'm showing initiative and I'm being eager because I asked that casting director if they've got any roles for me, when in fact they're being perceived as pushy or needy, or a certain urgency that is perhaps a little off-putting. So there's a big difference in what you think you're sending out and how you're being perceived. And then I would say the final myth is that you need to be able to read the room. Again, it goes against the myth that, oh, well, I had the best of intentions, so therefore, and then your reality is their reality. When in fact, the reality is, it's however you are perceived. And one of the biggest mistakes that actors make when they're networking is to not read the room. Know when it's time to perhaps move on in the conversation, or when your conversation is not interesting to that person. So taking an interest in the person that you're talking to, being aware of their body language. I think one of the interesting details I tell people to watch for is the position of someone's feet when you're talking to them, because if they don't want to talk to you, they will inadvertently point their feet either away from you to someone that they do want to talk to, or they'll point their feet at the door. So if both feet aren't, pointing at you, then that's a really good clue. I've got so many secrets in the Networking for Actors book that help the actor to be able to see what's going on in this environment. How can I best respond to that? And that way, hopefully, get my message across in a way that's going to help my career and not actually hurt my career.
So you just mentioned a networking book. Can you tell me about it and how my viewers can get it?
Absolutely. So I put together a in-person guide for actors and their networking, and it's all about body language. And because you might be thinking, well, if everything is subconscious, or if most things are subconscious and what people think of me, oh my God, what can I do to help people like me more or to avoid not being liked? And my goodness, are there so many ways that you can mess this up? And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I just got to write this stuff down and help these people out, because you're working so hard to get cast and not realizing that the interactions that you can have either before or after an audition or at a networking event can be as important as what you do in front of the camera. This is just for marketing for actors, because Heidi Dean is an amazing human being that gives so much away herself that I was motivated to want to give away something equally as valuable. So anybody else going to my website is going to pay for this. Because Heidi is an amazing human being and a friend of mine, I wanted to do something just a little extra special for her audience.
Thank you so much. And you can get that in the description below. All the information's there. You can also find out more about Faith there in the description as well. But actually, I want her to talk a little bit more about what she does. Can you tell us about CMFA? What makes what you do different than other methods for actors?
Yes, so the communication method for actors is the only science-based acting method for film and television of its kind. And again, it comes from my background as a communications expert, as somebody who has spent many years studying human behavior and the science that is neuroscience and how we study the brain. And there's so much to that. And again, it goes back to what we were talking about before with networking, is that 95% of what someone thinks of you is actually subconscious. And so actors need to realize that when they are interacting at a networking event or when they are performing, whether that be in an audition or whether that be on set, that they are communicating largely at a subconscious level. So what I do in my method is I break all of this down into scientific principles. And my method has 10 different scientifically based tenets that we work off of, and then I take each of those scientifically proven tenets and I apply it to their work as an actor, specifically giving them formulas that they can use in auditions. The idea behind this is that we don't want actors having happy accidents. We don't want them to come into an audition, do something really amazing, and then not be able to repeat that, and not be able to even figure out what it is that they did that helped them get that role. So what I do is I break it all down into scientific principles, show them exactly what works, what does not work, and the science and psychology of why that is, and help them to build it up into something that does communicate effectively. So just as it is important to be liked and how you can make yourself more likable in a networking event, you can also make yourself more castable if you use those scientific principles during auditions. And then of course that carries over to set life as well, because you're communicating to your audience at large at that point. So these same scientific principles also apply to set life as well.
Thank you so much for being here with me today, Faith. I'll see you on social. Bye.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Faith, for today. I know my viewers are going to take so much away from this and from that free ebook. To connect with Faith, follow her on Instagram, or to download that Actor's Guide to Networking, just go to the description below. Until next time, I'll see you on social. Bye.